This is To Be Continued With. I'm Mike, and we are officially at our endgame with WandaVision, the hit Disney Plus series where we pick up with Wanda and Vision in the aftermath of the MCU's Phase 3. Before we begin, make sure to check out our previous breakdowns, hit the bell for notifications, and subscribe to the channel. As the title implies, the show is breaking the fourth wall. Wanda brings us up to speed on what's been going on and plays it off in a sitcom confessional angle as simply letting things get out of control. She's still in bed and dressed in her Halloween getup while the boys start to tell her about what happened to their joysticks while they were playing video games. We see that the joysticks devolve from a Nintendo to an Atari all the way down to a deck of Uno cards, and Billy lets Wanda know that he's hearing voices in his head and it's making him feel uncomfortable. Just like the game controllers, more glitches come into play as the milk that Wanda gets for her cereal starts warping into different type of containers from different eras. She dismisses it and she says that it's just a case of the Mondays. Am I right? And we cue up our intro. Now for this one, The Office and Modern Family are the basis for this particular show's intro. As we get right into our show, 8 miles out, we see what's left of SWORD and they are completely in the dark about what's going on. And Director Hayward gets prepared to launch an attack. Inside the Hex, we catch up with Vision, who wakes up in the middle of the circus and meets up with the escape artist, who's being played by Darcy. As we cut back to Wanda and the boys, where we see a complete meltdown of Wanda wrapped up in a pretty standard TV take, basically a fourth wall breakout confession. Agnes comes over and takes the boys off her hand after sensing and seeing what's happening with Wanda. Now with Wanda being home alone, she sits on the couch and the whole house starts glitching out. It starts going through various changes, just like the furniture changes into previous ones from the past episodes. It's simply plain nuts. Wanda then uses her magic to bring things back to normal, and we see her meltdown go deeper into the rabbit hole of utter madness. We now catch up with Monica and Agent Wu, who thanks to Darcy, learned that Director Hayward has a project named Cataracts, which revolves around the Vision. Now, we end up meeting with Monica's contact as they attempt to get into the Hex. We catch up with Vision and Darcy, who are both inside of the Hex, with Vision trying to connect with Darcy, who's in a TV trance. He ends up mind melding with her to get her out of it. They end up stealing a truck and leaving the circus location, heading towards Wanda, who's again experiencing some real crazy shit going on with the house, and even the fucking stork from before makes an appearance. As Wanda films a confessional scene, she states that she doesn't understand what's happening and why it's all falling apart, but more importantly, why she can't fix it. Out of nowhere, a voice asks that maybe this is something she deserved, which shocks Wanda and makes her ask, "What? But you're not supposed to talk?" And from there, we go right to a word from our sponsor.
Feeling depressed? Like the world goes on without you? Do you just want to be left alone? Ask your doctor about Nexus, a unique antidepressant that works to anchor you back to your reality, or the reality of your choice. Side effects include feeling your feelings, confronting your truth, seizing your destiny, and possibly more depression. You should not take Nexus unless your doctor has cleared you to move on with your life. Nexus. Because the world doesn't revolve around you. Or does it?
Now I know I made mention about how these commercials particularly pertain to Wanda's experience, but to us comic book geeks, we all know that Wanda is actually what's called a Nexus being, someone who is the same individual in every aspect of the multiverse. We return from our commercial and see Agnes and the boys having a conversation. Agnes points out to us that Wanda is literally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and then we cut to Monica, who's ready to drive the Rover into the Hex. With things not going as planned, Monica still gets through the Hex. The only problem is, with her cells in flux, we are actually seeing the origin of a Marvel classic. Monica is being rewritten into Photon. She's known as Spectrum in the comics and was introduced to us as Captain Marvel in the 80s. Now, Monica will probably take her mother's call sign of Photon and be somewhat similar to her comic counterpart, whose powers are light-based and able to access the electromagnetic spectrum. We cut back to Vision and Darcy, and he's being brought up to speed on his actual history and his current situation by Darcy. Some sitcom silliness ensues as they are stopped at a red light in the middle of nowhere. After that, a tech team for the light steps in just for a little bit of added fun, and we then see what Monica's doing. She ends up making it to Wanda's house and tries to explain what's going on. Unfortunately, Wanda simply is not having it. They both face off. She gets hit by one of Wanda's hex blasts, but Monica does a superhero landing, and we're having a standoff. A face-to-face take place between Monica and Wanda. Monica tries to calm Wanda down and gives a great analogy about her life, which in turn parallels what Wanda's current situation is like. And right as the moment intensifies, Agnes shows up, interrupts them, and whisks Wanda away. We get back to Darcy and Vision, who now are dealing with a crossing guard and miles of kids crossing the intersection. As Vision is filming one of his confessionals, he cuts it short, and we see him phase through the truck heading towards his wife. Agnes, who brought Wanda inside her house, sits her in the living room, and Wanda notices that there are half-eaten peanut butter and jelly sandwiches along with Yo Gabba Gabba still playing on the TV. Just like all of us, Wanda asks, "Where are the twins?" The M. Night Shyamalan music kicks in, and Agnes answers with, "Probably playing in the basement." Wanda starts to check the basement, and this quickly turns into a Jigsaw, bring out the Gimp type of vibe, complete with the Necronomicon from Evil Dead. Just kidding, it's possibly the Darkhold. Now, the Darkhold is a mystical book from the Marvel Comics universe, but some have been speculating that this book is actually a missing text from the Doctor Strange movies. Either way, we get back to what's going on the show, and as Wanda makes her way through the basement, which is a complete cult hangout spot, Agnes steps into frame, and suddenly she asks Wanda if she thought she was the only magical girl in town. With a flick of the hand and what seems to be some purple energy that resembles Wanda's, we get our second intro for someone I've name dropped before. It's been Agatha all along. That's right, folks. Agnes, aka Agatha Harkness, has been pulling some moves on her own spin-off that points out her impact on what's been happening to Wanda and Vision. A great mix of the Munsters and the Addams Family montage for the witch from Marvel Comics. Now, Agnes is behind a lot of shit that's been going on, from manipulating Herb and the rest of the townsfolk to creating Pete in those guest spots for WandaVision. She's also shown to be the voice from earlier in this episode when Wanda's making the confessional, even sitting in the director's chair. This bitch even killed Sparky. Now, that's how we end episode 7, but this time we actually get a mid-credit scene a la MCU movie style. Monica's checking out a way to get into Agnes's house via the basement and suddenly gets startled by Peter. He pops up, and we officially end this week's episode. With 2 episodes left of the hit Disney Plus Marvel series, you should really be watching this. At least wait till the next 2 episodes come out. That way you can binge watch this entire series in one sitting. I will say this. The upcoming shows are really going to have to step up their game to match what's been done here on WandaVision. As always, my name is Mike. I want to thank my partner in crime, BoBCaTT the Legend, for providing us with the awesome vibes that we've been listening to. And as always, this isn't the end. It's simply to be continued with.